Welcome back. Now, to have a web page named after yourself, all you have to do is go to any web naming site and register. But what if your name is already taken? Well, this week, the UN agency, the World Intellectual Property Organization, got involved for the first time in a case of a domain name, cyber squatting. Now, the WIPO now hopes to put an end to long drawn-out legal battles over domain names by using an independent panel of experts to arbitrate such disputes. Well, CNBC's Ethna Trainer has been delving into the murky world of cyber squatting.
In the early days of the internet, users were happy enough for a while to have a numerical login. Of course, as the internet got bigger, so did the lists of numbers, and it was less than convenient to remember them all. So someone then came up with the bright idea of using names. And dare I say it, the rest is history. A domain name is a type of alias. It's a name that's an easy way of representing what one does. .com, .net, and .org are the three most popular dots around these days. The system was designed to make finding individual places on the internet easier. Domain names have become your internet identity. Registering a name on the internet is the equivalent of registering a company with Companies House. And once registered, nobody else can use that name. But you must be quick. It's a case of first come, first served, and lots of people and companies have similar names out there. So it's important you register your name as soon as possible. You'll never know when you're going to need it. And speaking of which, I better get registered. Treanor. It's an unusual spelling. Nobody could be there. And it's gone. Oh gosh, but in this day of e-commerce and e-everything, we forgot I'm etrainer.com. And that's it. So for CNBC, I'm etrainer.com.
And I can tell you she'd never get it through expenses, I can assure you. But apparently I can register my name, so I'm going to afterwards. But I'm not quite sure exactly what for anyway. But I'm not the only one who might want a personally named website, indeed not the only one who's actually got their own personal website. It's also a dilemma, it seems, now facing the world's richest man, because it seems that Bill Gates, in theory, cannot register a web page under his name because somebody else has already taken it. The site may be just an emailing address, but the owner of perhaps the most coveted name in cyberspace and numerous other sites is now joining me on the line from California, and hellobillgates.com, who's also known as Dale Gent. Now, you're in your early 20s, you are not fabulously rich. One wonders why you wanted it, because your name bears no relation to Mr. Gates. Why did you get it?
Well, it was kind of odd, really. I was sitting around with some friends one night, and we saw that it was free, and one of them dared me to register. At the time, this was in 1996, and at the time, domains weren't as big of a deal as they are now. It was quite unexpected, actually.
Yeah. But are you actually planning to do anything with it?
Not right now. I've had it since '96, and I've only recently put the webpage up this past June.
All right. So what do you actually have on the webpage? Can we see a picture of the webpage? I think. I mean, what do you have on it? Is it anything to do with Bill Gates, or is it all about what's happening to Dale Gent?
It's actually nothing to do about me or Bill Gates. Names Bill Gates directly. It's just a simple mail link there that a lot of people actually click on and send mail.
Right. So are you open to offers then?
I could be. I haven't really focused on selling it or even thought about it all that much.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, is there sort of perhaps a touch of mischief here? I mean, the fact you've actually, taken the name of a major player in the computer world, one might see that as being a bit what lawyers might call vexatious and frivolous, or it's a bit of cyber squatting.
Right. Well, I can assure you that my original intentions weren't such. No, I've ended up with this name, and it's been kind of interesting to see how people have treated it and responded to it.
Yeah, and just briefly, how many hits do you get on it?
Oh, I can get up to 1,000 a day easily.
Yeah, and your email? Can you cope with it?
I can cope with it. It's about 100 messages a day on average.
Yeah.
And some of the email is pretty interesting.
All right. Okay. Yeah. We won't go into that because we are a family program. Okay, well, let's move on now, because joining me now in the studio to look at the whole issue of this is Avril Martindale, Head of Intellectual Property and Information Technology at the law firm Freshfields, and also John Sewell, CEO of Net123, a company which registers domain names. And, of course, it's worth pointing out at this point you might have a conflict of interest because you do actually represent Microsoft. But, I mean, is this actually a fairly typical problem, and one that's difficult to legislate against, that people take a name like NigelRoberts.com, somebody could possibly register that while I'm on the air and use it, and I couldn't do anything about it?
No, it's not difficult to legislate against at all, and part of the problem is that the law has been a bit behind in terms of the speed of development of the internet, but the law is catching up very, very fast. And in the United States, there's now a Cyber Squatting Act, which came into force just about a week or 2 weeks ago, which deals in particular with people who register domain names with a view to profiting from them.
And that is the difference, isn't it? If you're making a profit out of it, it's a different ballgame than if you just happen to set it up and do something with it on a personal level.
Well, not necessarily, because there are cases popping up all over the world where the brand owners they're fighting back big time against these individuals and these companies that set up websites for whatever reason, be they whinge sites, be they to make money, be they just for fun. They're fighting back.
But isn't one of the problems there that you might have legislation in one country which works quite well and is effective, but because a lot of these things are happening across borders, it's very difficult to pin it down because the offence, if you like, might happen in a completely different country?
Well, that's where the WIPO activity is very useful, because what they're doing is they're looking at it at an international level. They deal with the top level domain names like .com and .org, but every registry in the world, and there are about 200 registries in the world, increasingly they have dispute resolution policies to deal with issues such as cyber squatting. And they're becoming tougher and tougher in the way that they deal with them.
All right. Well, John Sewell, are you finding this, because you're in the business of, if you like, selling these names and registering these sorts of names, is it becoming tougher for you?
Well, business has gone crazy, certainly in the last few months. People registering domain names around the world. I mean, we're a serious internet group. We register names with all the authorities on our names123.com site. But about a month ago, all these names are out there. There's 13 million registered. And we felt there would be a need to have a central point so people who have wanted a good name could actually go onto an auction site. So we put that together with about 10 names on, and it's gone to 5,000 in a very short space of time. And it's a way people can try and find a good name that's already gone. And we, as a business, don't go around registering names to try and make a profit. What we do is auction names that people have already got.
But there are people who are going around doing just that. I mean, you don't register yourself as Marks and Spencer just because you happen to have a grandmother who was called Marks and an uncle who was called Spencer.
I mean, our view as a business, we will not take on. We've had people trying to register Vodafone.com and stuff like that. And we have, on the auction site particularly, we have no controversial names apart from the billgates.co.uk name. We don't allow that on our site, so we're actually very much against trying to take a Marks and Spencer's brand name. They spent millions developing it. Why should it be taken by someone else?
But I'm just sort of curious, actually, why it is that our colleague in California could actually register billgates.com. I mean, why it was available in the first place.
I think it's the internet's moving very quickly, but 3 or 4 years ago everyone thought it was for the nerds, if you like, and now it's not. I mean, it's a massive thing. And they maybe had a bit of foresight to register names.
But of course there is the issue, isn't there, that if you are a personality, Bill Gates or a sporting hero or anybody else, then there is an element of protection there that Joe Bloggs probably wouldn't get in certain countries.
I very much don't want to comment at all on the Bill Gates situation because we act for Microsoft. But individuals do have rights, most definitely in connection with their name, in many jurisdictions in the world. I think the most interesting case we've had here in the UK is the case that's called 1 in a Million, where two very enterprising individuals decided to register marksandspencers.com, burgerking.com, ladbroke.com, Cellnet and so on. And the court was very decisive there in saying that the mere registration of these names amounted to trademark infringement. They didn't need to offer to sell them back even.
But what about the UN, though? I mean, that's going to help that situation, though, isn't it, Nat? Or should it?
What, the Uniform Dispute Resolution Policy? That will help hugely. One of the problems has been that often the cyber squatters don't identify themselves, and therefore bringing court proceedings against them is quite difficult. You don't know who they are. They sit back and they wait for someone to make an offer to buy it. The new act in the United States and the Uniform Dispute Resolution Policy of WIPO helps deal with that problem. It gets rid of the fact that you can't find the fellow, therefore you can't sue him.
All right. Well, I find we must look at this because it's been a part of our office all day, which is the hamster site. And you can log on to this hamster site, not for profit. Somebody loves hamsters, and they created this. Can we hear the catchy tune? There you go. She likes hamsters. She made this site. People are now issuing a record. Could she do them for breach of copyright, or can she be done for breach of copyright for the original song?
Well, it depends on how she created the original song. If she simply copied someone else's song, then yes, I think she ought to be quite concerned herself about the copyright position. But no doubt she obtained the appropriate copyright license in the first place.
Okay, Avril, thank you very much for that, and John as well. Well, on that hamster note, good night.
In a name, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of pounds if it's got the right ring to it and will get people to use the internet. This morning an online auction began for the name Banks.com. It's expected to sell for around £1 million, the highest ever paid in the UK for an internet site name. In our Southampton studio, John Sewell, who owns the company Names123.com, which is auctioning Banks.com. And indeed, John, lots more this morning, is that right?
Yeah, we have approximately 3,500 names going out for auction from Names123.com.
Now, the history of all this was that some people called cyber squatters had the very bright idea, didn't they, of signing themselves up with lots of company names and then challenging the big companies, the actual companies themselves, to come and buy those names from them. How did all that go? That's been happening for some time, hasn't it?
Well, that's not what we're about, actually.
No.
There has been some court cases here in the UK, and people that are actually trying to take Tesco's name or Marks and Spencer's name just won't get anywhere.
Yep.
But the point is there's some very good names still available.
Like?
I mean, at the moment, obviously, if you go on to our databases, you can actually search online. And if you're clever and you can think of good names, as I say, there's 13 million currently registered. But I can guarantee you there's a lot more that haven't been thought of, ready to be registered.
Just give us some hints as to how some of those variations can happen, like johnsewell.com. Now, what could you do with John, because there's, with all due respect, there probably are a number of John Sewells around. How could you make that, how could you personalise that and make it noticeable and make it a good name? What sort of things could you do with it?
Well, I mean, obviously you've picked on sort of me as a person, but obviously businesses. I mean, a classic example is egg.com, part of the Potential Bank. Really what we're about is business names rather than sort of, you know, individuals or personalities.
OK, but there are lots of there's various companies. Say there are lots of companies called the same name. You want to make yours distinguishable at the same time noticeable. How can you physically mess around with the address?
You can't, to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're called Tesco, you can maybe put Tesco Direct or whatever. But, you know, it's very difficult to actually change the name because you can only actually use words when you're actually, you know, ABCD type words when you're actually registering those names. It's very difficult to set yourself apart. So you actually have to try and come up with a new name or something simple like Egg, which I think is a great example.
OK, and how many bids have you had for Banks.com so far this morning?
I don't actually know. I've been doing interviews for this morning. It went live at 9:30. The auction actually goes over 14 days.
Right.
And at the end of that, obviously whoever wins the auction will actually get that.
John Sewell, thanks.
Pleasure, thank you.
You're watching Money. Time now for business news from the rest of Europe.
To come out of a general scheme of education, they go on to university, colleges, and they train and they train. You've trained in university or whatever till 21. Does that mean to say then after that period of time you can only expect to work 15 years and then you're on the scrap heap? What's it all for? You might as well not bothered.
She hasn't got an answer to that. Hey! And you're not allowed, I hope they didn't hear that. You're not allowed to use the B word, so-and-so lazy. No, it was just one example. You've made the point.
I'm the managing director of an internet service group. We're going to be recruiting at least 20 people in the next 12 months. We're based in Worcester. And we recently recruited 4 people, and not one CV was from someone over 35. Yeah. My view is that, as an employer, what we would look for is not so much the CV, but someone who actually maybe gave us a call and says, look, this is me, I'm a person, not a CB, you know, give us a job, and we would call them in for an interview.
What's your telephone number? No, don't say you'll get on. Will you call him?
I'll call him.
You're an ex-headmistress, aren't you?
I'm an ex.
Hang on, please.
I'm an ex-teacher. I've taught. I've been deputy head. I've taught in prison. I've done my time inside. I've taught in prisons. Okay.
Don't say that.
I've taught inside. I've worked for an architect's office for a year.
Would you give her? I'm going to stop you there. Would you give her a second look?
So I'm up
Certainly.
to date.
You would listen to her.
I would.
You're not. You're saying you're not prejudiced, even though it's a modern industry. You're not prejudiced against.
In a bit.
You're not.
No, the complete opposite in my
So what
opinion.
about Janet? Would you if Janet rang you up? Would you talk to her?
Exactly, yes.
Seriously?
Seriously.
But you're not going to be raising her hopes?
No,
Where do
please.
you advertise? You say you really
Well, we
receive
used to use
CVs.
recruitment companies, but we stopped using them because we
But
weren't getting
recruitment companies only
Hang on, let's go on to recruitment.
Now.
But listen to him.
But now what we do is we advertise in the local papers and we get response from all age groups from across the
so hang
we
on.
will look at you.
And you're going to give... What's your company's name?
It's called phase8.com.
OK, so that everybody will have phase8.com. They're all .coms nowadays, aren't they? So you go look for them, because here apparently is a man who isn't prejudiced, who isn't ageist. Look for him in your newspapers, and you're going to give the phone number, aren't you, to every single person here, and you can all go and kick his door down. And you should be doing the same. Yeah, it's very hard for those who are unemployed when you haven't got a job, and we all know how you lose your dignity, your self-respect and everything, because everything, what we are, comes down to what we do. Everything we are in our lives comes from having a job. That's the most important thing. And everybody's entitled to have the dignity that comes from work and from earning their own keep. Go down to the job centre, bang the desk there and say, I'm over 50, Margaret Hodge, the minister, has told me about this wonderful new deal.
Is up for sale. Virtually, that is. The internet domain name of Microsoft owner Bill Gates is up for grabs. BillGates.co.uk is ranked by some as the 7th most valuable net site name in the world.
He might be the richest man in the world, but the rights to the UK website based on his name are ranked a mere 7th. Internet auctioneers at names123.com believe they can get at least £2 million for BillGates.co.uk, on the premise that someone will think they can make a profit out of even a price like that. It's not the first time a non-existent website's been sold for silly money. The rights to the supposedly entrepreneurial business.com went just 10 days ago for $7.5 million. No one's claiming that paying to register domain names and hoping you can sell them for more later on is a safe way to make a quick buck.
I believe it to be quite an interesting field. We're not too sure what Mr. Gates will do. And at the end of the day, we don't own that name, and any legal action obviously would be with the owner. We're just providing an auction facility along with 5,000 other names.
None of the great web successes so far have names you'd have picked as being worth 7 figures. What price Yahoo or AOL? If you're planning on using the name, whatever it is, for your own business, maybe that's different, and only you know how much it's worth. But the fact BillGates.co.uk is still available means a man who's particularly good at making money hasn't thought registering the site's been worth the bother so far.
Here is when we untangle the mysteries of the World Wide Web. So how can you turn £60 into £1 million? The answer is to register a snappy, memorable name as an internet web address and hope someone will buy it from you. It's not as crazy as it sounds. Last week saw a landmark event in the world of the internet. A domain name, business.com, was sold for £4.5 million. Another finance-based name, banks.com, is being put up for auction. So is it that easy? There's easy money to be made by registering names. John Moylan went to find out.
This Oxford-based company registers all those .co.uk web addresses you see on billboards or on television. 3.5 years ago, there were just 25,000 such web addresses, known as domain names, registered in the UK. Today, they register 100,000 a month.
The domain name is a key thing that you can put on your business cards, you can put on your TV adverts, you can put on the newspaper, the side of your vehicles, etc. And it has to be easily remembered. If you've got a nice, snappy name, easily remembered, then you'll attract people to your website, and it's very important for the growth of business in the electronic age.
But over the years, Nominet has observed the rise of a new phenomena called cyber squatting. It's when individuals snap up well-known brand names with a view to selling them on to the company involved at extortionate prices. These files are all of the cases where disputes have arisen over domain names. Now, in fact, such disputes are incredibly rare. There's only about 540 cases here out of 600,000 registered domain names in the United Kingdom. But from time to time, the lawyers are called in and these cases can go to court. And so far, the courts have had very little sympathy for anyone suspected of cyber squatting. 2 years ago, several major high street retailers found their desired domain names had already been registered. The retailers took the matter to court and won. The cyber squatting company involved, 1 in a million, was forced to hand over the domain names.
While people were making quite a bit of money a few years ago, the gravy train is now really over for those people who've set up a business simply to register domain names that comprise of well-known brand names, and with the intent of selling those names back to the commercial entity whose name they've adopted. The Court of Appeal in the well-known 1 in a million case has now really made clear that it has no sympathy with that kind of activity.
So focus has turned to more generic names. Last week, the web address business.com was reportedly sold for £4.6 million in the US.
I'd say 15,000.
Now, these two internet entrepreneurs are hoping to set a UK record. Stuart Coomber is selling the name banks.com on behalf of a client. He's approached John Sewell to place it on his domain name auction site. The bidding starts at £600,000. The name has a reserve price of £1 million.
It's got a great opportunity to be a portal for the banking industry. It's a memorable name, so people like things they can remember. So newbies to the computer age and on the internet can remember these catchy names, whether it's a funny type of name as wobblythighs.com or banks.com, where it's serious and linked to the industry.
But some claim there's a fatal flaw in this approach. Recent internet banking launches have revolved around names totally unrelated to the banking industry.
You can either go for a name that will get you direct hits. So banks.com will get you a direct hit. You don't have to spend so much money on the marketing, potentially. The other angle is to go for a very catchy name and spend the money on the advertising. So Egg, Smile are classic examples.
The banks.com auction goes live today for 2 weeks and will be watched anxiously by the business community. For if it does get the £1 million asking price, it's likely to spark a race to register thousands of popular names. And that could cost companies dear in the future.
John. Can't get a free one. They don't cost much. They do fit one. Well, news now of a man who's on the crest of a wave after turning from surfing the waves to surfing the net. Alex Lambert started with a Prince's Trust grant of £10,000, but has now sold his surfers website for a cool £1 million.
Take a young entrepreneur who can combine surfboards with surfing the net, and there's a tidal wave of cash to be made. Alex Lambert from Upton-on-Severn worked solidly for 2 years to create his Surf World website. It was a great success, and he's just been bought out for more than £1 million.
The main part of it is I get to carry on doing what I want to do, but have no more financial worries, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing.
The Surf World website was bought by a Worcester company, Phase 8, but they also wanted Alex as part of the package.
He's locked in to stay for a while. He has shared within the Phase 8 group, and Alex is a great guy, very hard-working, works around the clock, but really loves his sport.
So, from a small start surfing the net, Alex is now definitely riding on the crest of a wave.
Well done, Alex. Now, a
former cleaner is headed for stardom after launching her singing career on the internet. Now, Pippa Scholes has signed a £500,000 deal with her employers at a computer firm to run a new website for other struggling singers.
Forget Cinderella, this is a true story of rags to riches. Pippa Scholes, a former office cleaner, is determined to become a pop star, and it looks as if she could make it. Pippa has turned her life savings into £500,000 by launching her own website in order to promote her career as a pop star.
I hassled John
every day, trying, please, just have a look at my site, please, even if it's just advice, just, anything. And then she said, oh, right, okay, I'll have a look. And he looked at it, and before he could even download the music, he was like, wow, yeah, she's a worker, okay.
She might be a cleaner, but she's highly talented, not just from a music viewpoint, but she's actually got a good brain on her. And she's got her feet on the ground, and I think that's fundamental for any sort of business criteria.
The 27-year-old, who is Britain's answer to Shania Twain, says those in the music industry won't have to scour through endless recordings to find the right voice, because her website will also act as a talent base.
For women, I just think it's the fantastic way to get through to the record companies and to anyone else out there that they don't need to feel like they're on their own, fighting their own battle.
So if you fancy yourself as a Geri Halliwell or Madonna, then why not get online? Actor Khan, Sky News.
Well, it's a pretty impressive website that Pippa's set up. This is it. There you go. And we are hoping to... do you want to have a listen to her first? Here we go.
Patience is my only crime. So come on, baby.
A voice deeper than a coal mine. She sounds sensational. We'll be chatting to her here on Sky News at 6. Stay tuned for that. Looks great too.
Well, you could keep a tune in a bucket and join her.
Carry a tune in a bucket. That's me, I'm afraid. As for Hazel, well, let's see. Here is heading for stardom after launching her singing career on the internet. She joins us live in a minute. In fact, why don't we meet her now? Here she is. Hello to you, Pippa.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, very well indeed. Tell us about your website idea.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm basically starting up a site with phase8.com, and we're building a site for women musicians, and obviously launching it myself because I'm a singer myself.
But
so I'm hoping that...
Okay, but give us the rags to riches story. You were a cleaner there, and you basically pestered the boss until he had a look at your site.
Exactly that. It sounds unreal, but it's completely true. I started cleaning here just after Christmas, and I really hoped that he would look at my site, and I pestered him, the boss. And he looked at my site and said, wow, we might have something here. And we basically got together in talks and discussed a possibility of having a site for women only, seeing as I have a lot of experience in the music industry, and bless them, they don't really know much about the music industry, so it's fantastic. It's really amazing.
Okay, well let's see what happened that so impressed John Sewell. In fact, we'll have a little play and then we'll chat to you a bit further. Here we go.
Sure.
The questions running through my mind. Patience is my only crime. So come on, baby, walk my way, 'cause that's something I should say.
Pippa, you know all the words as well. That's fantastic. So tell us how this website's actually going to work. What do people do if they do have some music that they want people to listen to?
Right, well really they have to email me at Caroline at phase8.com and basically send me the stuff, and I'll have a look at it, see if it's good and make sure it's good. And I can help and advise as much as I can. I have plenty of contacts in the business, and the boys at Phase 8 can also have plenty of contacts with all the people that are registering onto Phase 8, and especially as they're floating in spring on the Financial Times. So it's really going. The stock
You seem very excited about it, people, with some justification, it has to be said.
Yeah,
how are you going to make money out of it, though?
For me, I'm hoping that a record deal will come off. For me, that's the major earner for me. But I suppose when we get to sell the sites, sell the music from the sites, then there will be fees negotiated. But I leave that to all my financial advisors. I'm just, I'm the artist.
Have you ditched the mop and bucket?
Sorry?
Have you ditched the mop and bucket?
Well, I could always come back to it if I have to, but I'm not a bad cleaner. The boys will say I'm not a bad cleaner.
Well,
so
with a voice like that, you're not a bad singer either. Pippa Skulls, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers.
We about to get this one right. Hello there, welcome back to the cafe. Now, we've all thought about how nice it would be to be a millionaire,
And being a .com millionaire has seemed recently to be the easiest way to do that. Wrong. Look what happened to Boo.com. They went bust a few weeks ago. So it obviously isn't as easy as we think. Now, we have a senior new media analyst here this morning, Rosalie. Hi, Rosalie. Good morning.
Hello, Donna.
So is it as easy as we all think to become a .com millionaire?
If only. I think if it was that easy, I'd be in the Bahamas right now. No, it is not the simplest thing in the world. I think it has to be remembered that a lot of the .com millionaires, their money is, it's all tied up in paper. It's all tied up in shares. And their fortune is totally tied to the fortunes of the company. And this is where you start to see the problems with, where you've got the companies going down like Boo.com. You're starting to see a lot of problems also in the US. And so you're going to see those millions of pounds become pennies, I think, in some of those cases.
Well, we do have a real live .com millionaire here this morning. Good morning, Alex. And you're going to tell us, aren't you, how you became a millionaire?
Yeah, I mean, very lucky, I suppose. You've got to have a certain amount of luck when it comes to starting a website. I mean, I didn't know anything about computers. You need the right domain name for a start. You know, you could spend £1 million building a website, and if nobody comes to it, it's worthless. Or you can spend a few pounds, and if you get 10,000, 20,000 people a week coming to it, it can be worth £1 million. And fortunately, that's basically what happened to me. You know, and sort of registered a very good domain name and got a lot of traffic coming to the site. So no matter what you build, and what I had, because I had so many people coming to the site.
Alex, can I just ask you, I mean, first of all, you're very young, you're 27, aren't you? Which is pretty young to be a self-made millionaire.
Right, okay.
What was your big idea?
The extreme sports. I got into surfing, skating, snowboarding years and years ago, and basically built a whole website around the extreme sports culture, and it just went off. It just started happening.
Were you surprised? You look surprised.
Yeah, I think everybody was surprised. You know, it was great. You know, just right place at the right time.
Ladies, can I also say he's into surfing, he's into computers, he's a millionaire, and he's single.
He is single. Available? Does that mean available, though? Yeah. So, Rosalie, what advice would you have if you do have that big idea? What's the next step you should take?
Well, the first thing is you've got to move away from this idea of, hey, it's a good idea, if we build it, they will come. I think that's been one of the big problems. A lot of people have not sat down and thought where their money is going to come from. They haven't thought who their customers are going to be. They've got over-ambitious, they've tried to expand too quickly, and they've forgotten all the basic fundamentals that you need to know who your customers are, they have to want what you've got to deliver, and you have to serve them well. And that's what people keep forgetting, and they've got so focused on the technology, they've got so focused on the hype and the marketing, they need to go back to basics. And I think that what you're seeing now in this current shakeout is just a real dose of cold, hard reality.
Is that what happened to Boo.com then?
I think that's exactly what happened. They tried to get too high-tech at the beginning, so a lot of people couldn't even access their website. They were building e-commerce at a time when there were a lot of people in Europe who were not using the net to buy things. They tried to go into 18 countries initially, and so they were burning through something like $1 million a week, which is a huge amount, when they didn't have customers, and those customers were not buying it.
So is that what you did then, Alex? You just took it all very carefully and made sure that people were interested in what you had to offer to begin with?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of fun, more than anything, you know, so it didn't take huge amounts of money to start it off, you know, you sat there in your own bedroom just playing around, doing something that you enjoy doing. And one day somebody turned around and literally said, this is what we're going to offer you for your company, do you want to sign here? And I was like, show me the pen, I'll sign it. You know, I don't
show
know.
me the money.
Yeah, well,
you look like a fairly laid-back kind of guy, but I mean, has it changed your life? You're a millionaire now. How's it affected you?
I haven't had time to stop and think about it at the moment. I'm sure something will come around in the next few months or so. I don't know, just take one day at a time and just keep enjoying yourself, you know.
Do you have any top tips for anybody who has got maybe a good idea that they think it would work on the net? Maybe 3 or 4 tips that would get them started.
To start with, don't think you're going to make $1 million straight away, because it doesn't work like that. Yeah, I mean, it will take a lot of hard work. It takes hard work. You need to build up a very good client base. If you have a very good database, somebody's willing to pay you for that database. Anybody can do it. Anybody at all can do it. It's not difficult. I hadn't even touched a computer, 2.5 years ago. And it just goes to prove anyone can. They've just got to work at it and get lucky.
Alex, you got lucky, and we were pretty lucky to meet you this morning. Thanks very much for coming in, and thank you as well. Now, if you fancy a weekend break in Stockholm, don't let the thought that it could be a tad expensive put you off. Maybe you could get Alex here to take you over there. But we managed to do Stockholm on a budget. Have a look at this.